The BC government has just tabled a law that will allow the police to take your driver's license for 30 days on the spot without a right of appeal and without any hearing or argument or opportunity to challenge it. This law is bonkers, and if this passes, it is going to lead to so much unfairness. This law is what has been advocated for by a family. It's known as Xavier's Law, but it is essentially an immediate prohibition from driving for reckless driving. Reckless driving is defined in the legislation or in the bill as driving in a manner that causes you to lift your tires from the road surface or spin out your tires, lose traction. So essentially that type of stunting or fishtailing intentionally, spinning out without maintaining control of the vehicle, so like doing donuts, going in two lanes at once, so the oncoming lane and the lane intended for travel, two vehicles side by side, so essentially street race type behavior, where you remain in the oncoming lane for longer than is reasonably required to pass another vehicle, driving with a person in your trunk, driving while you're not seated in the driver's seat, driving 40 kilometers an hour or more over the speed limit if it's an 80 kilometer an hour or lower zone, and driving 50 kilometers an hour or more over the speed limit in an 80 and up zone. So if you're in an 80 zone and you're driving 130 kilometers an hour, you're going to lose your license for 30 days. Driving 150 kilometers an hour, lose your license for 30 days. 150. Lots of people do that. I see all sorts of cases for that. And driving without due care and attention, which is just a traffic ticket, without reasonable consideration for other persons using the highway, which is a very low standard, or driving in a manner that is likely to cause harm to an individual or distract, startle, or interfere with users of the highway by doing any of the following. 1, driving or operating the vehicle in a manner that shows you intend to prevent somebody else from passing, you intend to block or impede other vehicles from passing or from merging into your lane, driving as close as possible to another vehicle, a pedestrian, or a fixed object on or near the highway, or making a left turn as soon as the light turns green when there's cars headed towards you. So if there's a car stopped at the red light facing you and you make the left turn thinking they're not going to notice the light has changed and you try and slip through, that will warrant you a 30-day suspension from driving immediately on the side of the road. And the government wrote into the law, no appeal lies in respect of a prohibition issued under this section. You cannot appeal it. That means your only avenue of redress is by going and filing a judicial review of the officer's decision in BC Supreme Court. Good luck having that heard in 30 days. It takes almost 2 weeks to put together a case, even to just put the prohibition on pause. This is wild and completely unjust, procedurally unfair. And to make matters worse, this immediate on-the-spot 30-day driving prohibition imposed solely at the discretion of a police officer that's unchallengeable also leads to a report that's submitted to the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles. And the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles reads that report and then considers, is a further driving prohibition warranted? Do you think the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles is ever going to look at one of those reports in one of those situations and say, no further driving prohibitions warranted? Not in my experience. The Superintendent of Motor Vehicles' whole raison d'etre is to prohibit people from driving. This is only going to lead to 30-day, unchallengeable, unjustified sometimes prohibitions, and justified sometimes, prohibitions immediately at the roadside, then triggering longer driving prohibitions that people are going to get in the mail while they're serving their 30 days. It's only going to increase driving while prohibited charges. It is absolutely unjust that the government is not providing an avenue of appeal for this, and you should be concerned about this. You should write your MLA and tell them not to vote in favor of this law, which is Bill M226, the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act. Get rid of it, and get rid of it now.